Many people believe that if you want to change your life, you need to work harder and add new things. You need to build more habits, put in more effort, collect more possessions, and fill your days with more activities. But after spending years learning from Japanese philosophy and the wisdom of samurai and Zen monks, I came to understand something very different. Real change often comes not from adding, but from releasing. The Japanese call this tebanasu, which means to let go from your hands. When you release what no longer serves you, you create space for what truly matters. Today, I want to share 12 things I let go of that transformed my life. These ideas come from principles that have been practiced in Japan for hundreds of years. I hope they bring you the same peace they have brought me. 1. The overfilled schedule. There is a beautiful concept in Japanese art called yohaku. It refers to the empty white space you see in traditional paintings. When you look at old Japanese ink paintings, you will notice that much of the paper is left completely blank. This emptiness is not a mistake or laziness. It is one of the most important parts of the artwork. This empty space gives your eyes a place to rest. It lets your imagination wander freely. It creates a feeling of calm that would be impossible if every inch of the paper was covered with details. Your daily schedule works in exactly the same way. When every hour is filled with tasks and every moment is claimed by obligations, you lose the ability to think clearly. You lose the simple joy of doing something just because you feel like it. You've become like a painting so crowded with detail that looking at it makes you feel tired instead of peaceful. I started leaving empty blocks in my days. I did not fill this time with specific tasks or goals. I just left it open. Sometimes I use this space for a quiet walk. Sometimes I make tea and drink it slowly. Sometimes I do nothing at all, and that is perfectly fine. This simple practice has brought me more peace than any productive habit I have ever tried. And here is something surprising. It has also made my work better. When you have real rest between periods of effort, both the rest and the effort become more meaningful. If your days feel overwhelming and exhausting, do not try to fix the problem by adding another system or technique. 2. The endless scrolling. The samurai practiced something called zanshin, which is a state of calm awareness and full attention. After making a strike with the sword, the warrior did not immediately relax and let his mind wander. He stayed present and alert, ready for whatever might come next. Modern technology works against this kind of focused awareness. Social media breaks our attention into tiny, scattered pieces. We scroll through feeds without any real purpose. We look at things without really seeing them. We lose hours that we cannot even remember afterward. I removed these apps from the main screen of my phone. This was such a small change, but it made a big difference. The temptation to scroll was still there, but the easy trigger was gone. When I had to search for the app instead of just tapping it automatically, I often realized I did not actually want to use it. In Japanese, there is a saying about keeping things out of sight so they stay out of mind. When you do not see the gambling hall, you do not feel pulled to go inside. When you do not see the social media icon every time you pick up your phone, you do not reach for it without thinking. Since making this change, my mind has become much quieter. The constant noise of other people's opinions and activities no longer drowns out my own thoughts. I have recovered the ability to sit alone with myself in comfortable silence. If you find yourself scrolling without really wanting to, do not try to fight it with willpower alone. Just remove the trigger and create some distance between yourself and the distraction. 3. The extra things in my kitchen. I once visited a friend whose kitchen was almost completely empty. She had one pot, one pan, one good knife, and just a few simple tools. When I first saw this, I thought it was strange. How could anyone cook good meals with so little equipment? But then I watched her prepare dinner, and my whole understanding changed. She never had to search through drawers looking for the right tool. She never had to decide between different options. Every movement flowed smoothly into the next, almost like a dance. It reminded me of the Japanese tea ceremony, where every object has a clear purpose and every motion has meaning. Nothing is wasted and nothing is extra. The beauty comes from simplicity itself. I started getting rid of kitchen tools I rarely used, the special gadgets that seemed like good ideas at the time, the duplicate items I had accumulated over the years, the things I bought because I thought I might use them someday but never actually did. What remained was simplicity. And inside that simplicity, I found something I did not expect. I found joy. Cooking became peaceful instead of stressful. When you have fewer choices to make, you spend less energy on small decisions. When your space is clean and uncluttered, your mind feels clean and uncluttered too. 4. Reading without doing. For many years, I believed that reading more books would automatically make my life better. I read constantly, always looking for the next great insight or the next powerful technique. My shelves were full of wisdom that I had consumed but never applied. Then I learned about a Japanese principle called Chiko Goitsu. It means that knowing and doing must become one thing. Knowledge without action is incomplete. Understanding something in your head without practicing it in your life is essentially worthless. So I stopped buying new books all the time. Instead, I started reading the same important books again and again. The first time I read a book, I usually felt satisfied just by learning something new. The second time through, I noticed things I had already forgotten. By the third or fourth reading, I started to feel a little embarrassed that I still had not done anything with what I knew. And finally, I took action. The samurai did not learn sword fighting just by reading about it. They practiced the same movements thousands of times until those movements became part of their body. The Zen monk does not just read about inner peace, he sits in meditation day after day until understanding becomes real experience. If you have shelves full of books whose wisdom you have never applied, maybe you do not need more books. Maybe you need to go deeper with the ones you already have. Choose a few texts that really speak to your heart and read them until you cannot help but act on what they teach. 5. The heavy things I carried. When you carry heavy things, you do not want to move. But when you are light, movement becomes natural and even enjoyable. Think about arriving in a beautiful new city while carrying bags so heavy that your shoulders ache and your back hurts. You do not feel excited to explore. You just want to find a place to put everything down and rest. But the moment you leave those bags at your hotel room, your whole mood changes. Suddenly you feel ready for anything. This same principle applies to everyday life, not just travel. The things we own become weight that we carry with us all the time. Heavy shoes make us less likely to go for a walk. Cluttered rooms make us less likely to invite friends over. Too many commitments make us less likely to start anything new. I began letting go of heavy things in my life. Shoes that made my feet tired. Objects that served no real purpose. Responsibilities that drained my energy without giving anything meaningful back. I discovered that lightness makes action easy. When moving feels effortless, you naturally move more. When starting something does not feel like a burden, you start more often. The samurai understood this truth. A warrior carrying unnecessary equipment cannot respond quickly when needed. Only someone who travels light can act with speed and grace. 6. Staying up late. The samurai woke up before the sun rose. This was not just discipline for its own sake. They understood that the early morning hours have a special quality that the evening cannot match. At night, after a full day has worn down your energy and willpower, you become much more vulnerable to distraction. The self-control you had in the morning has been used up. It becomes very easy to fall into mindless habits like scrolling through your phone or watching television shows you do not even care about. For most people, staying up late usually turns into wasted time. I started going to sleep much earlier than before. Sometimes I go to bed at 8 in the evening, which I know sounds like the schedule of someone much older, but the change in my life has been remarkable. When I wake up before the rest of the world stirs, my mind is fresh and clear. The hours I used to lose to late night scrolling have become hours of creation and quiet enjoyment. I write in the peaceful silence. I take walks beneath the stars. I sit with tea and watch the sky slowly change from dark to light. The number of hours in each day stayed the same, but by moving my waking life to the morning, I took back hours that were being stolen by tiredness and distraction. If your evenings tend to disappear into activities that do not really matter to you, consider trading those late hours for early morning ones. You might be surprised by how good the exchange feels. 7. Too many choices in my closet. Every morning, I used to stand in front of my closet and feel a small but real sense of exhaustion before my day had even started. What should I wear today? Does this shirt go with these pants? Where did I put that thing I wanted to wear? These tiny decisions added up to something heavier than they seemed. Zen monks wear simple robes that are the same every day. Samurai had their formal clothes and their training clothes, and that was basically it. Neither spent mental energy on variety just for the sake of having variety. I simplified my wardrobe down to basic categories with consistent colors. Everything goes together with everything else. You do not have to make decisions about matching. You just get dressed and move on to things that actually matter. This is not about depriving yourself of nice things. It is about freeing yourself from unnecessary mental work. Every small choice you eliminate creates space in your mind for choices that really count. The stress I used to feel every morning has completely disappeared. If getting dressed in the morning causes you hesitation and frustration, consider simplifying your options until it does not. Keep only the clothes you actually wear and let everything else find a new home. 8. Comparing myself to other people. There is a Zen phrase that I come back to whenever I notice feelings of envy rising up in my heart. The phrase is Taru wo shiru, and it means to know what is enough. It means recognizing that what you already have is sufficient for a good life. Comparing yourself to other people is probably the fastest and most reliable way to make yourself miserable. No matter how much you achieve or acquire, there will always be someone who has more. If your happiness depends on having more than others, you will never find real happiness. The practice for overcoming this is simple, but it requires you to pay attention. When you catch yourself comparing, stop for a moment. Shift your focus away from what you lack and toward what you already possess. Think about your health, your relationships, and the small beautiful things in your ordinary day. I was walking recently and I noticed myself feeling envious of someone who could walk easily while I was dealing with some discomfort in my own body. But then I looked down at my feet and felt genuine appreciation for the good boots I was wearing. In that moment, the envy melted away and gratitude took its place. This is how I try to live every day. I do not try to have more than other people. I try to recognize that what I already have is enough. 9. Spending time with negative people. In Japan, people say there are 3 things that shape your life more than anything else. They are the people you spend time with, how you use your time, and the spaces where you live and work. Of these 3, the people around you might be the most powerful. The samurai were very careful about who they spent time with. They knew that attitudes and emotions spread from person to person like fire. Courage is contagious, but so is fear. Hope spreads easily, but so does despair. I do not think that negative people are bad people. They are often dealing with difficulties that I cannot see or understand. But I have learned from experience that spending too much time with people who constantly complain and criticize and focus on problems leaves me feeling drained and dark inside. Slowly and with respect, I created some distance from relationships that consistently brought my spirit down. I looked instead for the company of people whose presence made me feel more alive and hopeful. This is not cruelty or selfishness. It is wisdom. You cannot help anyone else if you have let their negativity put out your own inner light. Take care of your own flame so that it can bring warmth to the people who truly need it. 10. Saying yes to everything. For many years, I said yes to every invitation and every request. I thought this made me a good friend and a helpful person. Every party, every gathering, every favor someone asked of me, I would agree. It was fun in some ways, but I slowly realized that I never had any time left for myself. My hours and my energy flowed outward to everyone else until nothing remained for my own life and my own dreams. I learned a simple way to decide what deserves my time. When someone asks something of me, I pay attention to how I feel inside. If I feel genuine excitement, something close to yes, I would really love to do that, then I agree. If I feel anything less than that, I politely say no. This might sound selfish at first, but think about what happens when you say yes to things you do not really want to do. You show up with reluctant energy. You participate without your full heart. You start to feel resentment building up inside. Nobody benefits from that kind of half-hearted presence. The samurai understood duty very well, but they also understood that a warrior who tries to protect everything ends up protecting nothing. Sometimes the most honorable choice is to decline one thing so that you can show up fully for the things that truly matter. 11. Holding on to the past. Over the years, we collect objects that represent our memories, gifts from people we loved, souvenirs from places we visited, items that connect us to who we used to be. These things with sentimental value are some of the hardest to let go of. Releasing them can feel like releasing the memories themselves. But the Zen teachers tell us that attachment is the root of suffering, and attachment to the past keeps us from being fully present in our lives right now. I let go of most of my sentimental items, probably around 90% of them, and I discovered something that surprised me. Nothing bad happened. The memories did not disappear. They still live in my heart, completely separate from the physical objects I used to keep. What I gained was freedom from the weight of yesterday. While you are lost in memories of the past, you are missing your life in the present. The time you spend sorting through old things and dwelling on old experiences is time you're not spending on becoming who you might still become. The past already received your full attention once. That is what the present moment is for. Now is the only time that truly needs you. 12. Speaking negative words. In Japan, we have a belief called kotodama, which means the spirit or soul that lives inside words. It is the idea that what you say has real power in the world. Your words do not just describe what is happening around you, they actually help create your reality. When you constantly say things like, "This is terrible," or "I cannot do this," or "Everything always goes wrong for me," you send that energy out into the world. And somehow, it seems to come back to you even stronger. The philosopher Nakamura Tenpu taught that we must remove negative words from our minds completely if we want our lives to change. This is probably the most difficult practice I have tried to follow. Negative words come out so automatically. Complaints form in our minds before we even notice them happening. Criticism flows from our mouths much more easily than praise or encouragement. But I have seen real changes from working on this. When I notice a negative phrase starting to form, I pause. I try to find a different way to express the thought, or I stay quiet. Over time, my inner world has slowly shifted towards something lighter and more peaceful. The samurai were very careful with their words because they believed that how a person speaks reveals who that person really is. Careless and negative talk comes from a careless and negative spirit. What you say matters more than you might think. Try to speak as though your words will become real, because in many important ways, they will. These 12 changes have not made my life perfect. Difficulties still come. Challenges still appear. That is simply what it means to be human. But by letting go, I have created space. Space in my schedule.